Busy day. So welcome to the third part of Prophetic Generations, part three. And we're learning about the transition, Elio to Elisha, transition from Rebbe to Talmud. And the last thing we talked about, of course, Elio Navi goes up in a chariots of fire. And I urged everyone to resist the impulse to start singing, swing low, sweet chariot. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
I know, but
The fiery chariots.
Da.
Yeah. Oh, you could have done chariots of fire also. It's all you could get. Here, welcome. Okay, grab one, send the rest down. So, just to fill out the idea, Elio Hanavi very much, Elio and Elisha to some extent, very much involved with fire and different things. We won't learn the story now. Maybe we'll do another series on Navi soon. So it'll be in the mix as well. But in Melachim Bet chapter 6, the whole point at the last minute of Eliyahu's life was him telling his Talmud, I'm going. You're not going to see me anymore. What do you need? And what does the Talmud ask for? Give me double. I need a double portion. What does Eliyahu say? It's not clear if double portion means like of all your Nevi'im, I should be the Bechor among them. Like a Bechor gets double portion. Or if he actually meant, I want to have double what you had. Later on in Elisha's career, he'll actually effectively resuscitate two people from the dead. One, just like Eliyahu, the other one, Naaman mitzaro. He brings him back from leprosy, and the tzarat is considered a form of death. Yeah, as among those who are on the list of being called dead, even if physically they're alive, if they have tzarat. Anyway, if you look up in chapter 6, you have a story where the king sends emissaries basically to go after Elisha, and you can see it here, page 448. Yeah, that we had learned previously about Aram, the northern kingdom of Aram, ongoing clashes with the Jewish people, wars. And at one point, they basically want to send a death squad to go on to assassinate Elisha. They come and they find him. And just to make the point, and we could learn it in depth another time, but verse 11, yeah, the warning came, and we hear here, Vaisaer leiv melech haral devar that there was a warning given to him by Melech Israel to Elisha, someone's coming to kill you, basically. Who's going to go, is together with me to go after the king of Israel. And what did he answer? Achad me'afadav lo adoni hamelech ki Elisha navi asher b'Yisrael yagid lemelech Yisrael ledvarim shedaber b'chadar mishkavecha. You're not actually going to find who the spy is who's telling the enemy, the Israelites, what we're doing. All right. The one who's for Israel is not in our ranks. It's Elisha Hanavi, who warns the king of Israel when you're coming. He's the eyes in the sky. He's getting transmissions from Hashem. He's telling the king of Israel, and that's what happens. And that's how they know everything. And they even know what goes on in your bedroom. We'll go find him. He's in a place called Dotan, a place that's laden with a lot of sad Jewish history. From there was Yosef sold. But same vicinity. We'll get him. We'll take him. It means we'll kill him. We'll grab him from there. Vayomer na'aroi lav ahaduni echana goes to wake up his master, this servant of the Navi. It wakes him up middle of the night. Sir, outside there are forces arrayed around us. They've circled Dotan. What are we going to do? What does Elisha say? Vayomer al tira ki rabim asheritanu me'asher otam. More are with us than are with them. Vayitpalel Elisha vayomar Hashem pekachna reinav yirev yivkach Hashem reinei anar vayar b'nei ahar malei susim v'rechav esh sivot Elisha. The same idea about chariots of fire. Now they're back. And where are they? They're on all the mountain range in the area of Dotan, fiery chariots of Malachim outnumbering the enemy forces that have come. And this is all the eye-opening experience for the Nar. Elisha apparently could see it already. Vayirdu elav vayitpalel Elisha Hashem v'yomar hachna et hagoy hazeh b'sanverim vayakim b'sanverim kidvar Elisha, and Elisha davens to Hashem that he should blind all the enemy forces, and that's exactly what happens. I bring this up just to say Elisha sees the fiery chariots of the world. He sees the fiery chariots picking up Eliyahu Hanavi, his Rebbe. When Eliyahu replied to Elisha when he made his request about having double, he said, I can't guarantee that. It all depend on one thing. Well, you'll see me go. Mm-hmm. And then he saw the fiery chariots, and presumably that was the signal. Okay, you're on the Madrega. And as the Navi Yisrael, Elisha finds out later on, we find out he actually can see fiery chariots, not just when his Rebbe leaves, but in general as well. This idea of Eliyahu to Elisha, prophetic generation, it's not the first time it happened in Jewish history. It is striking that this one is filled with miracles and things happening. But there is an antecedent for a teacher to student, and the student feeling inadequate and needing encouragement. Moshe Yeshua, right? And then isn't it telling then, if you look on the map, the inset, which I'm sorry, I think the copies came out black and white, but what are you going to do? You see the places that are listed here. So you have Gilgal, and you have Beit El, and Beit El is right near another place called the Eye, Yeshua, and before that, Yericho, and before that, the Jordan River, and before that, the east bank of the Jordan. This is exactly the path that Eliyahu and Elisha take in that order to leave the land of Israel, and Eliyahu dies on the east bank of the Jordan, somewhere in the mountain range there. And it's exactly the place where Moshe Rabbeinu died, and where Yoshua ben Nun had led the people into the land of Israel, Jordan River, to Yericho, to Ai, which is near Beit El, to Gilgal. So there's obviously great symbolism in the move. And if you look at Sefer Yehoshua, chapter 8, you'll see this example, chapter 8, pasuk 9, where it actually mentions these places. Yeah. That's page 266. Yishalchem Yeshua vayelchu. Right. Where is it? Vayelchu el ha'ma'arav vayeshu bein Beit El uvein ha'ai. I have 266. You have 258.
Yeah.
Different paginations.
Yeah, they're different versions.
Sorry, I didn't know that. I'll have to call the numbers. Okay. Then chapter 10, Parak Yud, pasuk Tedvav, Yud Tedvav. I have it on 270, whatever page you have it on. Vayashav Yeshua b'chol Yisrael imo l'machane Gilgala. Yeah, right. Obviously, Yericho was first, then came Ai, then came Gilgal. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see the pattern. Yeah, all of this began, of course, first with the taking of Yericho in Parak Hay, where they crossed over the Yarden. By the way, how did they cross the Yarden in Sefer Yeshua? Do you remember?
Right.
It split, and it split based on what was happening to cause it to split.
They carried
exactly the Aron Brit Hashem. So if you look in Parak Vav, I thought I gave you the source, but apparently I didn't. Parak, no, not Parak Vav. It is here. It's Parak Gimel when they cross over. All right, Parak Gimel when they cross over. Pasuk Tet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How will you know? Yeshua says to Bnei Yisrael, come close to me. And how will you know? Listen to the words of Hashem, right? Here's how you will know that the living God is in your midst, and that he will cause you to get rid of the Knani, the Chiti, the Chivi, the priestly, Girgash, the Mor, Yevusi. What's going to happen? Pasuk Yud Aleph. Hine Aaron Habrit, Adon Kol Haaretz, Over Lifnechem by Yarden. ואתה קחו לכם 12 איש משבטי ישראל, איש אחד לא שבת, ויקנוח כפות רגלי הכהנים נושא ארון השם אדון כל הארץ, במי הירדן, מהירדן יקרתון, המים היורדים מלמעלה ויעמדו נד אחד. Right? It's going to be, the waters will part, they'll stand on one side. ויבן צור העם מעליהם לעבור את הירדן, והכהנים נושא הארון הברית לפני העם, וכתבו נושא הארון על הירדן, ורגלי הכהנים נושא הארון נטבלו בקצה המים, והירדן מולק על כל גדותיו, כל ימי קציר. It's springtime when they go, חודש ניסן, so things are overflowing, there's a lot of water. ויעמדו המים היורדים מלמעלה, קמו נד אחד הרחק מאוד מאדם, העיר אשר מצר צרתן, והיורדים על ים הערבה, ים המלח, תמו, נכרתו, והעם עברו נגד יריחו. סך הכל, big miracle. There's a parting of the waters, yeah. V'yamdu, or at least gathering one side. V'yamdu kohanim nosei ha'aron brit Hashem b'charava b'toch Yarden hachein v'chol Yisrael avrim b'charava ad asher tamu kol hagoy la'avor et hayarden. Who else crossed the Yarden? I just said, but on what merit? Now. Oh, sorry. Well, there's a little piece about Beit El I skipped. A piece about Beit El that was very significant, but we'll skip it for now because I have too much to do in these Makorot. So Halavai will get through it. Go back now to Melachim Bet. Now to our parak, and now when you read it with different eyes. In chapter 2, right? What do we read? They passed through. They crossed all these different places, right? And the Kotera, chapter 2. Let's just see it again inside. Vayhi ba'alot Hashem et Eliyahu basa'ara hashamayim vayelech Eliyahu v'elishim negilgal. I have it on page 441, whatever it is in your Tanakh. Koran Tanakh, chat Melachim Bet, Parak Bet. Yeah, Melachim Bet, Parak Bet. So they go from Gilgal, and God is, he tells them, you stay here. God is sending me to Beit El, and he goes into Beit El, right? And the Nevi'im are all trailing after Elisha, telling him, today's the day he's leaving, right? God's gonna take him. Notice also that the words here are ambiguous already. It doesn't say death; it says taking. Right? Ki hayom Hashem lokech et adonecha me'al roshecha. What does he tell them? Shh, I know, but don't say. Then they go to Yericho. But when they get to the Yam, how do they pass? How do they get over the Yarden? How do they get it to split? Verse 7 and 8. Pasuk Zion. Yeah, he took his special mantle, his cloak, Aderet Elio. He rolled it up, and he hit the water, and it split. If for Yehoshua bin Nun required to arm Brit Hashem, there's a message, right, that it's Elio. Where Eliyahu goes, the Shechina goes. It's pretty high madrega. And Elisha's kind of trailing after him. What's going to be? And the idea here that he crosses over the water.
This also makes it seem less likely that Pinchas was Eliyahu. Because Pinchas was there crossing. He could have just done it himself. He didn't need the Aron.
Unless like many people, he developed. Sure. If Pinchas is Eliyahu, which we have early sources claiming that Pinchas is Eliyahu, which one could understand in 3 ways. A, he lived a super long time and his name got changed. B, Pinchas died and is a Gilgal Neshamot, and the Gilgal Neshama is Eliyahu. C, Pinchas and Eliyahu share many characteristics, and Eliyahu modeled himself after Pinchas, something like that. 3 ways to view it, all with basis and legitimacy, and but I guess for possibility A, it's the same person. So how come it didn't work? Why they just say Pinchas come forward? Right. And the answer could be he's not in the same madrega. That's why when he gets changed, his name gets changed to Eliyahu, kind of like Yaakov becomes Israel. Maybe. So here, he strikes the water and they split, and Elisha is able to go through as well. Yeah. And they see from far, obviously, the Vayiru b'nei Anavim asher b'yirich mineged, right? So they see Elisha crossing, and they feel that there's some conferral of the next generation. Nach haruach leo Elisha, v'yirli kartov yishtach lo arza. Yeah. On the way back. Sorry, I skipped something here. Sorry, let me take that back. After, I'm sorry, I jumped. Sorry, I left that. I skipped out a step because my mind is going like 1,000 miles an hour. After Elio and Elisha cross over, Elisha and Elio part. Elio gets taken up, and when he's gone, what's left? The Aderet, and Elisha picks it up. Now, how is Elisha going to get over the Yarden again? He could ford the Yarden, right? But that's not what he does. In verse 8, Elio has hit it and it split, right? They went together. Verse 9, 10, 11, 12. We have the goodbye, Elio. He is taken. We'll come back to that shortly. Verse 13, Vayarmid Ader Elio Asher Naflame Allah Vayashav Vayamod Al Sfat Hayarden. Vayikach et Aderet Elio Asher Naflame Allah Vayaked Hamayim Vayomar Aye Hashem Elokei Elio Afhu Vayaked et Hamayim Vayichatzu Heina Vahena Vayavor Elisha. So the students now in the next pasuk see what has just happened, which is Elisha has picked up the Aderet Elio, which was not just a garb, but was symbolic of the legacy of Eliyahu. Last action Eliyahu takes is to roll it up and hit the Yarden so the two of them could cross. And then Elisha comes back alone, carrying that which he has picked up off the ground, which is the Aderet Eliyahu. And he goes to the Yarden. And now he actually causes a split to happen again. Notice that he hits the water and he davens. Yeah. And the God that he relates to is the God who is the God of Eliyahu. Because this is Rabbi.
Yeah. Eliyahu didn't daven.
Huh?
Eliyahu just hits. He doesn't.
Right. Eliyahu doesn't have to, right. Eliyahu doesn't have to daven. But Elisha, the next generation, he's the Ben. He has to say the bracha of Avot when he davens. So from spiritual perspective, right? V'shenantim levanecha elu talmidecha, say Chazal. So okay, so he does it, and when he does it, what's the net result? It works. Yeah. Elisha, and Elisha crossed through, but who sees it? By Yeruhu v'nei Nevi'im asher b'yiricho mineged v'yomer nacha ruach Elio al Elisha. Verse 15. They bow down to him because they realize he's the next Navi. The first thing they see is that, the great wondrous thing that happens. They don't, what did the students not see? The actual moment of parting. Elio told Elisha, if you'll see it, then you'll know that it's you.
And they didn't see it because
they're not on that Madrega, and they didn't get to cross with Elio and Elisha. Which brings us to our central question for today, and of course, have to discuss its relevancy as well, which is what actually happened? Like, did Eliyahu die? So, yeah, so Elisha tears Kriya, so you can say there's like a halachic shaila, it's Baal Tashchis, if it's not the L'Shem Avelus, well, you could, maybe he was tearing because he was sad that he's not going to see him again. He told him, we're not going to see each other again, right?
And the phrase teku is mistaken.
If we understand the word teku in the midrashic way that people darshaned it, which is tishbe yitaretz akusha v'bayot, but they're also not necessarily tishbe Eliyahu tishbe is going to come at the end. The word teku in English means it's a tie. It's just leave it. It's like not going anywhere.
Well, if it's Eliyahu is going to come at
it
the
stands.
end, but he died, then
it'll come back at the Chidameitim.
Why would it be Tishbe, not Moshe?
Okay, Shoin. Eliyahu is supposed to come first. He's the Mevaser. Good question. Again, but we're clearing on whether Teku is an acronym or if it's a right, or if it's actually a word. But let's say, okay, yes, no. If it's an acronym, more of a shaila, but beseder. So when they go, the two of them. Now let's focus on that. All right. Eliyahu asked Elisha, "What do you want?" He told him, but he also uses the word "beteram elakach me'imach," before I'm taken from you. Doesn't use the word die. Does not say die. Everybody knows the word die. He doesn't say death. He talks about being taken. So it's ambiguous. It's just really ambiguous, right? And in verse 10, Eliyahu says to him, well, you just asked for double. That's a hard, tall order. If you'll see when I'm taken from you, then it'll be for you. And if not, then it won't be. And here are the psukim that we'll focus on. Vayhi hema holchim, haloch v'daber, v'hinei rechav eish v'susei eish, vayafridu bein shnehem, vayal yo basar hashamayim. They're walking and they're speaking. Sounds like you're in the middle of a conversation. And behold, there are chariots of fire, enter the music, and horses of fire, and they separate between the two of them. And Eliyahu goes up in a storm to Shamayim. And Elisha sees this, and he's crying out, Avi, Avi, Rechav Yisrael, Elisha Roev, Ehud Ben Seik, Avi, Avi, Rechav Yisrael, Ufarashav, V'lo and he didn't see him anymore. V'yachazek bivgadav, v'yikre'em l'shnayim kre'em, and he tore his clothing in two. So the question comes up, okay, so did Eliyahu die? But it doesn't use the word death. Contrast this with Moshe Rabbeinu.
Where was Moshe?
It says he died. He died.
Mm-hmm.
And with Eliyahu, it's much less clear. And the Navi doesn't tell us. Now I know I'm doing this in the disjointed way. I'm trying to talk about the themes, right? Elisha is seen to have then come back, the splitting of the Yarden, and the students, it's him. He has the spirit of Eliyahu upon him, right? And they've seen this, but that's not where it ends, right? Look at Pasuk Tedvav.
What parak you in?
I'm still saying parak bet.
Okay.
I haven't moved. I'm just reading Psukim. Yeah. Pasuk Tet, right? So he splits it. The Bnei Nevi'im see it. And Vayomer Elav, verse 15, Vayomer Elav, Hinena yesh et avadach 50 anashim b'nei chayil, yelchuna v'yivakshu et adonecha penesao ruach Hashem, v'yashlicheu be'achad heharim o be'achad hageyayot, Vayomer lo tishlachu. He came across the Yarden in a miraculous way. They said he has the spirit of Eliyahu upon him. They bow down. When he gets close, they say, listen, we have this group of 50. If it's okay, we're going to cross the Yarden again. We're going to go on a search party to look for Eliyahu. Chapter 2, Melachim Bet, Parak Bet, page 442, you should be thereabouts. Still lost? It's on the top of the page. See?
Chapter 2.
The part of Melachim Bet, chapter 2?
I'm just.
It's okay. Maybe Melachim Aleph. It happens. So why are they going to look? What are you going to a search party? You just saw that the two of them left and only one came back, and he's wearing the cloak of his master. So they say, we're going to find out where he is. What does Elisha say? Don't bother. Don't send anybody. So do they listen right away to the Navi? Of course not. Vayivtzeru ad bush. Vayomer shalachu. Vayishlechu 50 ish. Vayivakshu shashayimim v'lo mitza'uhu. So they it's already like, it's embarrassing already. Please, come. We really want to go. We really have to go. Rabbi, please let us go. We know what you're telling us, but maybe Elisha was trying to describe to them this chariots of fire, and it came down and took him. You know what the Bnei Nevi'im do? They don't listen. They don't accept. They're going to find the Rebbe, and they're going to find the Rebbe. I gave it away. Is the Rebbe dead? Is the Rebbe dead?
Rebbe's not there.
Right? Where's the Rebbe? If you can go to a grave, to the kever of the Rebbe, so the Rebbe's dead. Except if you don't call it a kever, you call it an ohel. So, oh well. No, what do you mean? And if you want a modern example, Maidan gives this example when he gives Shurim on this. The example happened in the mid-1990s. Lubavitch Rebbe, Zeichet Tzaddik V'Kadosh Livracha, passed away physically. You could ask his cardiologist, 1994. His cardiologist, Sheikh Elor Chemim Tovim is my neighbor. Tell you, medically, that's what happened. He does not live physically anymore. but it wasn't clear in the 1990s. The Rebbe didn't die. There was a histalkus. Histalek is the removal. Didn't really die. If you want to understand this Shita more in depth, there's a beautiful book called My Rebbe by Rav Adin Steinsaltz, Zechat Tzaddik Livracha. And in this book, he explains the Shita is for how the Chabad Hasidim, certainly at the beginning, could believe and not believe that he was actually dead. This is not just a phenomenon of the of Lubavitcher Hasidim. You can, if you want to go back in Jewish history, do a very prominent example on the books. The Baron Ksubas describes the death of Yehuda Nasi, and they go out into the street and they announce, if anyone will say that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi died, we will stab them. Stating the facts, you're not allowed to say that. How could you say that about Rabbi? Rabbi lives forever. Rabbi, we learn Mishnayos every day. It's Rabbi. So Eliyahu Navi, that's what Talmidim do. That's the Bnei Nevi'im say to Elisha, we love you. We saw you were the one who did the nace, and Leo's not here. So obviously you've taken over for him. But where is he? Seriously, where is he? They don't go for a day. 3 days of looking in the Aver Yarden. It's not like they're going town to town. They're out in the wilderness. Search party. Can't find him. Verse 18. Pasuk Yudchet. Vayashu elav v'hu yosef b'Yericho. V'imar aleim halo amarti aleichem al tilechu. Didn't I tell you don't go? But in the end, why did he tell them you can go? Because they bothered him so much. They badgered him. Because the more he was going to say, don't go, the more they were thinking, oh, he doesn't want us to go. Because for sure, Eliyahu is out there somewhere. Because there's no way Eliyahu Navi's actually gone. He's not dead. And if he is dead, then we'll find a body. But they don't find a body. And they don't find a kever. And they don't find Eliyahu. By the way, you can't find where Moshe Rabbeinu is buried either.
Right.
But according to our tradition, right here in the Torah Shebechtav, he died. It says so. Now, there's Neshama Levan, Betach. And we're all very familiar with the notion of Eliyahu Hanavi, Gilu Eliyahu, and all these things. It's very prominent in our tradition. But when we say Gilu Eliyahu, what do we mean by a revelation of Eliyahu Hanavi? Yeah, according to our tradition, the Zohar Kadosh is a revelation of Gilu Eliyahu to the Rashbi, Rishon Bar Yochai. Ample Mekorot. We're going to see some of them now. But it turns out there's actually more of a machlokat of what actually literally happened to Eliyahu Hanavi, because we could envision a situation potentially, and you need to set aside your negative predilections in this regard, because a certain other religion which wanted to steal as many souls as they could, therefore had to engage in absolute cultural appropriation and what I like to call an intellectual heist of all of our sources and all of our greats and all of our stories in order to do a makeover so that it could be the story that they needed for their religion and to make it more palatable for Jews to leave the fold. Okay, Vein Kamakal Maharach, you get what I'm talking about. But setting aside the fact that we don't believe that it would have happened with someone who is a Navi Sheker and et cetera, is it possible that Eliyahu Hanavi died physically and then came back, or that in some spiritual way Shem sent him back? Possible. It's possible. Let's look at the Radak, page 1. Vayal Eliyahu b'sa'ara. He goes up in a storm. K'moshe pirasnu pirush hashamayim le'inin haguf ha'aviri. K'moshe ta'uf ba'shamayim. Right? Vayal Eliyahu, he went up in a storm, as we explained. Doesn't explain it here, but what it means, he's going to make it apparent again. What does it mean, hashamayim, that he went up in a storm to Shamayim, specifically, when he went? Yeah. Vayal Eliyahu b'sa'ara hashamayim le'inin haguf ha'aviri. His body flew into the sky, in the air. So in other words, there's two things. There could be a body, like a bird or something, that flies in the shamayim in a physical way, and there could be a spiritual shamayim. There is a spiritual shamayim on high with the Melachim, and they're in shamayim. Like Halud Hashem Mina Shamayim. There's an ambiguity about the word Shamayim. Sometimes we say the plane flew in the Shamayim. Sometimes we say According to the Ramban, Shamayim does not mean the sky. It means anything in the spiritual dimension. Eliyahu nasa ruchani va'aguf kala be'esha elyoni v'shav kol yesod el yesodo. Eliyahu became a spirit. He became like a malach, but the body was consumed in a fire, in an upper fire. I mean, a fire that is, from a spiritual perspective, it's a fire from Shemayim, and everything went back to its source, its foundation. Right. So you have Velafar Yashuv, right? Veruach Tashuv El Elokim. I'm butchering the pasuk, but a little overtired. Veruach Tashuv El Elokim. We say this pasuk, right, from Kohelet. The body's gonna go into the dust, but the spirit will return to God, right? So that's what happened essentially. Velisha Ra'ah Ha'aloto min ha'aretz. V'yoto la'avir ra'ad dimyon rechav eish v'susei eish. She freed ben shnehem. Klomar biroto ki nifrad mimenu me'eit asher hu Allah. Basically, what did Elisha see? He saw when Eliyahu was, as it were, coming off the ground. What does that mean? That he saw in his an image of fiery chariots and horses of fire that separated between them. What does that separation mean? So when I read the pshat, I thought it meant that the chariots made a noise and he moved away. They're coming. That's not what it means. It's not on this plane separated between them. It's that suddenly Eliyahu was moving up. But what did he see? What it means that it went up means that he burned up. And all his clothes burnt up, except for his aderet, which was the only thing left. Shenaflem elav, kadei shikachenu Elisha lahakot ba hamayim. Vim kidiver rabbeinu zichron limvracha shahayel lo kiflaim beruach imash Eliyahu temahu matzor chayelo aderet lachatzot ba hamayim. If he's really double what his master was he needed aderet for? V'nei afilu yim aderet lo nachtzeit hamayim, right? Ad she'amar ayeh Hashem. There was still no splitting of the water, even with the aderet, until he davened. Ayeshem l'kelio. Vim tamal nafla aderet l'tzorach Elisha elakevin shenasa ruchani nafla aderet me'alav im kain shabagadav lo naflu gam kain. So how come only the aderet fell off? So you see, basically, Eliyahu got double, but it doesn't mean he was double what his Rebbe was. Really, it's going to mean something else. I gave you the example that he had two experiences of resuscitating the dead. It didn't mean he was actually more powerful than his Rebbe. He needed the aderet and a tefillah, which his Rebbe didn't need. According to Radak, Eliyahu, the physical Eliyahu, is destroyed in a fire. And the spiritual kept going. That's what it means. Rav Saja Gaon, El b'sa'ara hashamayma. What does it mean when it says he went in a storm? He went up to Shamayim. What does that mean? He haflaga begova. It's means a very high height physically. Kema shekatuv arim gedolot uvitzurot bashamayim. Where's that? Parshat Ekev. The idea that the recollection that the cities in Eretz Canaan are going to be great cities and they're fortified and they're all the way in Shemayim. It doesn't mean they're in heaven. It means they're in the sky. The proof is that storms will only lift something or someone up a little bit. Vakach, you read it afterwards, they fall. Bidvar Eliyahu zichrono livracha. Is he dead if you say zichrono livracha? Maybe. I mean, today we would say that, but did Reb Saja mean it that way? So what does it mean? Here's what I think happened, says Reb Saja Gaon in his Parish and Bereshit in the epilogue. Haruchot herimu b'makom shrat tzakadosh Hashem yitbarach sheyamod sham v'sham chai ad zman shu yadua rak lelokim. So what happened was there were winds that picked up Eliyahu, a tornado, whatever it is, picked him up and put him somewhere else, alive. And he lived there for another period of time that is known only to God. And he stayed alive with whatever God gave him, but he did not escape from death. Just, it's not happening at this exact moment, maybe, but Eliyahu died.
For what purpose?
Mr. Radak Hashem, the ways of Hashem are hidden from us. I have no idea. Reb Sadigan thinks he died. Radak thinks he died. Physically. Doesn't take away the spiritual component. The fact it could be still a Gili Eliyahu from a spiritual perspective. But the idea that there's like some person who actually like opens the door to a chariot and gets in and it's on fire and he's waving, he's flying up to heaven. Not according to Radak, not according to Reb Sadigan.
But according to Reb Sadia.
He was picked up by some kind of storms to be put somewhere else.
What would Elisha have seen with fire?
That's Elisha seeing that really he is on a high level. Yeah, I don't know.
And his Pshat and Navi.
If you look carefully at verse 11, the pshat is not that Eliyahu is inside a chariot. It's not. There's two statements. Verse 11, Pasuk Yud Aleph. What's the purpose of those? Vayafridu bein shneihem, to separate between them. And then, next sentence, I mean, same pasuk, but it's after the et nachta, yeah? It's after like the comma. Semicolon. Vaya Eliyahu basara shamayim. Eliyahu went up in a storm to Shamayim. Not Shamayim like Eretz and Shamayim like the Gan Eden. He went to Shamayim, means he was picked up by a storm. What did Elisha see 2 seconds before that? A flash of light. He sees a fiery chariot, something flying by. But he saw Eliyahu disappear. Now, why didn't he chase after him? Right? Why didn't he run after him? He didn't know where he went. He disappeared. But on verse 10, Pasuk Yud, his Rebbe had told him, if you see me being taken from you, and he saw. That's what he saw. Radak, Reb Sadigan, he died. How do Reb Sadigan and Radak reconcile the source from Masechet Derech Eretz? Hard to know. Well, apparently they did somehow. Masechet Derech Eretz, it's a little bit later, it's not Mishnayot, it's a later composition. Tisha nichnasu b'chayim legan Eden. There are 9 people who alive went into Gan Eden. Ve'eluhein, Chanoch, Eliyahu, Umashiach, Eliezer Eved Avram, v'chule v'chule. You read the rest of the list. I'm running out of time. Yeah? So, it's a lot of people, 9 people, who alive went to Gan Eden. What does that mean? Gan Eden is not physical, so they went to Gan Eden. It's hard to know what that means. Right? But they somehow that's what they did. Yeah? They went to Gan Eden. That's what it says. Ralbag, next page, great rationalist. Great rationalist, for sure. So he says this further along. And there's another story we won't get to right now. Hahei is it's a hey hayadiya on something. Hu lehodia otzem ma'alat Eliyahu v'apela shaya b'inyano v'hu shekvar ha'ala to Hashem yitbarach b'sa'ara gavoa me'od shenala mikol adam v'istiro Hashem yitbarach mibnei adam ad 8 kates ki lo nigzar erech chayim nifla al derech hamofet. According to Ralbag, who generally is arch rationalist, doesn't go in from mystical things. I was a rational explanation. Not here. He says, with regard to Eliyahu, as we see the greatness of Eliyahu, that he was taken up in some kind of a great storm. He disappeared, but Hashem hid him away till the time that it will be that'll come back. And why? Because Hashem wants to keep him for a particular time, when there will be a revelation, a Gilu Eliyahu, that he'll come back. You know? It's quite remarkable. And he has a long life. He didn't die. But the Ayah mate. It's not Da'aya, it's Raya. Sorry, I misread it. It's misprinted. The proof is that after Eliyahu supposedly was taken, a letter comes from Eliyahu to King Yoram ben Yehoshaphat. How is there a letter coming? He sent a letter called Michtav Miliyahu. There will be a later sefer in the 20th century from Rav Leo Dessler, patterned after that idea of Michtav Miliyahu. You got a letter from Miliyahu. So today you would say he pressed send and it got delivered to the inbox. He already died, but it got there. Yecholiyot.
Yeah.
There are Rishonim who want to argue that. Not a Ralbag. Ralbag says, where did it come from? Eliyahu is actually still alive. He didn't actually die. Abarbanel.
We have all these stories of people who run into an old man in a shuk,
Mhm.
you know, even the one from
Stories in Gemara and Tanis and Daf Chaf Aleph. Chaf Aleph. Chachamim walking in the shuk and they're asking to find Elio, and they ask him who's going to be who's a Ben Olam Haba, right? There are ample examples of this.
73 War. Somebody told a story.
Yeah. I don't know it well, but I've heard talk. Yeah, okay. So this is a very long essay. We're not really gonna have time to see the whole thing. We'll at least do the first 2 paragraphs, and I'll summarize. Hayud Aleph, it's the question, right? The 11th question. A Barbanel. I don't have an editor. You could just write whatever you wanted as long as you wanted, and that's it. So Emet Elio o im hu chai. Rotzalomar im meit shenisraf gufo v'gadav b'yesod ha'avir o b'yesod ha'esh v'ruach shav el Elokim asher natana. That's the pasuk. Kidir mefarshim o im hu chai b'guf v'nefesh adayin k'mo shenilkach. And the 12th question. Im amar Elio chai b'guf v'nefesh be'ezim makom yashev omed. Where is he if he's still alive? Im mikerav ha'gramim ha'shamamim o b'toch echad mehem. Like, so where is he? Where is he? He's in some mid-range place. He's living somewhere, in hiding. Where is he? I have no standing here to tell you, is he dead? Is he alive? I'm just going to tell you what we have as a received tradition from our Chachamim. And everything we see, alongside what we see in the psukim and the teachings about them. Clearly, he didn't die a physical death. It would have used the word mavet. Didn't say that. Yeah. It's not that Eliyahu who died and came back from the dead. Eliyahu didn't die. How do you know? Because the Navi dances around, doesn't use the word mita one time. The fact that it says, that he went to Shamayim doesn't literally mean Shamayim. It means, as we saw in other early Mefarshim, it means tall fortifications to the Shamayim. Right? Shamayim. When it said Shamayim, it means the upper part, the stratosphere, basically. Right? Kiyater sha'ar nafshot hanaviim v'atzadikim anshe Hashem kim hayazeh kain. Lo yakatuv migzam inyano lukach Elio v'shelukach b'sa'ara. Wouldn't have gone through all this flowery language and the description of how he went up, and if he really was just dying, it doesn't need that. Shem hamavet. Just use it. Just say. Ha'im yomar she'anashim nisrafim en ameitim konig barim ba'aretz. If someone was burnt in a fire, they're not dead? Of course they are. Ba'avir. V'sheholi chato ha'sa'ara v'tisa'u ruach legan eden asher ba'aretz. He took him to a place called Gan Eden that exists on planet Earth. Right there. Shesham hu yoshev b'guf v'nefesh. And there, in that Gan Eden ba'aretz, he lives. He lives with his body and his soul. L'chinam sheli olameit. Ramu gamkein. Shlo ala rakia. He didn't go up to the rakia. V'amru. Shei rom to beit hamidrash. You have several of these examples in Shas. Yeah. V'shiyavu lifnei bo yom hagal Hashem hagal v'anor lioto ve'oto ofen asher zacharti. I don't have enough time to go through the rest of the Abarbanel. You see, it's very long. He goes through. You can read it for yourself. A whole discussion about Moshe Rabbeinu and the distinction, and right, the whole 9 yards. So, in closing, we just look at the last source. There's a Gemara in Ketubot, in line with this same idea. There's a whole story here involving Rav Anan. And the story in the Gemara surrounds the notion of a conflict of interest, or the gift that a judge might receive before a case, having to therefore recuse himself as a result of because of conflict of interest. So the story is that Rav Anan got a gift from someone. He didn't want to do the case. He sent him to Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman tried the case. Rav Nachman was under the false impression that the person was really a relative of Rav Anan. It wasn't. It was under false pretenses. And the idea here is supposed to be that, I guess, the actions of Rav Anan were incorrect. By the by, we'll see the Gemara 3 lines up from the bottom of the Gemara here, page 4 in the Hebrew, which says Anan. So it's Rav Anan, Havaragit Leo Da'at Gabe. Rav Anan had Eliyahu come to visit him all the time. Seder Eliyahu. He was teaching him a Torah called the Seder Eliyahu. Kivan to Avad Hachi Istalek. Once Rav Anan did what he did in this particular case, Eliyahu stopped coming. Yotav Tanita Uba Rachame Va'ata. So Rav Anan sat and fasted, and he davened. He asked for mercy, and Eliyahu came back. Yeah. So finally, he came back. But when he came, he was an imposing, scary figure. Ki ata havamavile beute va'aved tivute v'yativ kameh. So when he came back, when Eliyahu came back, somehow this caused great panic or terror for Rav Anan. So he made some kind of a shelter for himself, some kind of a container, and he went into the container in order to sit before him. The apikle sidre. While he was teaching him his Seder, the Seder Eliyahu. Ada apikle sidre. Behind the Amre, and that's why people talk about the Seder Eliyahu Rabbah, Seder Eliyahu Zuta. We have these Sfarim, part of the world of Chazal. Seder Eliyahu Rabbah, Seder Eliyahu Zuta, 2 different Sfarim. And they purport to be the words of Eliyahu Hanavi that he taught Rav Anan. There is a machloket about this. There were those who wanted to argue that no, there was a Tana whose name was Eliyahu, and there's the Sefer, but this Gemara seems to work against it because the Gemara claims, yeah. So the question is, V'hainu de Amre. There are those who say it this way, and they say Seder Eliyahu Rabbah, Seder Eliyahu Zuta. Some of Farshim just on this Gemara even say that before Rav Anan did what he did, so Eliyahu Tam, the Eliyahu Rabbah, a lot of Torah. That's Rabbah, as opposed to Zuta, the little one. That's when he came back. He wasn't prepared to teach him as much anymore. There are a lot of different discussions, a lot of different places in Shas that you could point to where Eliyahu Navi shows up. And of course, afterward, Gilul Eliyahu, and there's all different examples of this throughout Jewish history. And it remains mysterious. It remains mysterious. But the idea that is brought about here that you don't find with previous generations of Nevi'im, this is why it's such a critical shift from Eliyahu to Elisha, is you have this continuity from teacher to student, like Moshe to Yeshua, and at the same time, you have the idea that in some way the Rabbi has not yet left the world. His presence is still there. Now, what we mean by that, that's subject to a machloket. Yeah, but when you're on the Gila and the level of Eliyahu Hanavi, Zechuto Yagein Aleinu, that much we can say, with Eliyahu Hanavi, who we speak about every time at the Brit Milah and at the Pesach Seder, yeah, and that we hope will be the Mavaser, will come and tell us about the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu. Amen. That's it for today. That's all we have time for.